Edgar Samson is my name. I'm a teacher by profession and agriculturalist. I was able to go to university on government sponsorship to do agriculture. And on graduating, I got a big job. That's agriculture officer, but without money. Agriculture officer sitting in an office with no money. It was a big challenge in a situation where one wants to get married. And in our culture, you have got to pay a lot of dowry. That is 12 heads of cattle, maybe up to 10 heads of goats and chicken, and then some money, then you can get married. And that was a big challenge to me because I didn't have that money to get the 12 heads of cattle. So because of the pressure of the poverty and pressure to get married, I started thinking of how I could get these 12 heads of cattle and some goats and the rest to get married. And that prompted me now to think very hard of trying to see how I can get around, maybe to get the goats, to get the cattle, or to get chicken and to get the cattle. It was easier to rear chicks than to rear goats to get the cattle. So the number of chicken to get the 12 heads of cattle means 8 times 8 times 12. That's a lot of chicken. And then I sat down to think of how I can get that number in a small compound as a teacher. And the only way was not to hatch eggs into chicken and rear them. So I started thinking of how I can make an incubator. But in our vicinity, in the town of Arua, you don't get electricity that time. That was 1986, 1987. The only power in town was from 7 p.m. up to 11 p.m. at night. The rest of the hours of the day is without power. So the only option was to get an incubator that uses paraffin. So I sat down to construct my first incubator that uses paraffin. I got 10 eggs of the local chicken and put them to incubate. And then, after 21 days, the eggs hatched. And it was my first time to see how a chicken can peck the eggs from inside, round, and then come out with the noise. And likely enough, we had a Mzungu who was in our neighborhood. He came and saw the incubator. I said, now I need a clinical thermometer. He said, fine. After 2 weeks, he brought clinical thermometer. But he had informed his friends, the Mzungu friends, from Congo and from Wrigley Demonstration Farm. They came in my absence and saw the incubator, but the chicks were already moving out. Then they doubted whether that was true, that chicks were hatched from that wooden incubator. To prove it, they brought 10 eggs for me to hatch. I said, fine. I sat on to hatch. After 48 days, the eggs hatched, and I took the chicks to the Mzungu. And that is how, actually, I got my sponsorship. And it is the very Mzungu who sat down and sent me to Japan for 1 year to study appropriate technology. Now, coming from Japan, I now started saying I needed to continue hatching the eggs. The idea of hatching eggs was because I want to get married. But somehow, before I could not hatch so many eggs, I got married. But now I continued that vision, and I came up with one incubator that uses electricity. It has bulbs that emit heat, and that is the source of heat that can heat the incubator. And down here we have the thermostat that senses the heat the temperature inside the incubator. These two bulbs can emit enough of the heat needed for raising the temperature of the incubator up to 38 to 39 degrees centigrade for hatching of the eggs. And that's basically how it works. Sometime in the process, the thermostat can get stuck, and then the temperature will shoot out, and then the eggs will die. So I decided to refine it. I made the last model, this one. This is the most recent model of the incubator, and it is stayed for 2 years. And it has been working very well. It is the best one so far. While the other side model, the second last model, both of them use electricity. There are some friends who wanted the incubator to try it also to hatch. The first one, which I made out of wood, which can hatch up to 50 eggs, was like too small. Some people wanted maybe 100 capacity of 100 eggs or to 200 eggs. That one could not work outside there because power, electricity is not there. And you either use solar or you need a paraffin one. But the paraffin incubator has a big disadvantage in the sense that if the smoke from the source of heat leaks into the chamber where there is the eggs are, then the eggs will be killed. Then you will not hatch any. That's a very big snag. Two, you cannot control the temperature of the paraffin incubator as you will have done when it is using electricity. So you need to check frequently the temperature. So you need to be around most often than when you use electricity. That is the disadvantage of the paraffin incubator. This current one, you don't have smoke. You don't need to check temperature frequently. So it is more advantageous to use this one than the paraffin one. But it will be expensive because this size will cost something like 500,000. And that one will cost 200,000. Anything bigger than this will go to 1 million. So people don't find it easy to buy this, and yet the number of eggs hatched is very small. I've sold it to around 5 people already, this one, this type, 5 people, and they are using it, and they have been successful. My last model, which is very good. You can actually put your eggs there, and you go away, and you come and simply turn them, and then they will hatch. The youths of the late years are very impatient to get rich. It took me 2 years to come up with an idea of hatching an egg and coming up with an incubator. 2 years. But my first idea was to get chicks quickly to get married. But how can I do it when I have nothing? 2 years to come up with an incubator. Youths, please, be impatient. Don't be impatient to get rich. You need to have patience and a dedication to get rich.
Tubisudde muguluka nebuuza nze lwaki empisa zitugwamu